Here's the first of the day, fellas. Told D.H. Lawrence. This is Women in Love.
Welcome to Seen and Heard.
Hey.
This is the podcast all about the Sight and Sound greatest films of all time list. I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
And we are here for a personal print this week. I actually didn't even check to see if this was on the list.
Let me check right now.
That's shit.
It might. No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
My bet is no. However, I could totally see how this would maybe one day end up on the list. What do you think? No, actually, what do you think?
Of course. I think it should be.
No. And no Ken Russell either. Which is weird because this is a British list and I feel like it really loves British directors. I mean, It's not a British list, but it's a British magazine.
Yeah. But the critics are from all over the world.
They are.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
I know Sight and Sound does a British list. Let me see. Or BFI. BFI. No. Okay, never mind. Number 87 on the BFI Top 100 British films is Women in Love.
Oh, okay. From 1999. Oh, okay. So, yes, welcome to Seen and Heard. This is a personal print series we do occasionally, which is where either Jackie or I brings one of our favorite films to the podcast that's not on the list. And this one's unusual for me because usually the films we brought so far are films that were really formative or seminal to us and we've known for years. I just saw this movie for the first time a month ago.
Well, that's why I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Because I thought it'd be fun.
And you suggested it too, because I was raving about it.
You're
and
obsessed.
Then I wanted to do something else for a personal print. You're like, what about Women in Love? I was like, yeah, let's do it. So here we are. But before we get into the film, just a little housekeeping here. Bookkeeping, housekeeping. What's
Housekeeping? The movie?
No, just saying we're going on break soon. We're taking our annual break. So we'll have one more episode after this, which actually is our s'mores episode. And then after that, we'll be taking about a 2-month break, something like that.
So this is the last episode for the common folk.
Yeah. But if you want to hear the real last episode before the break, check us out on Patreon.
Yeah.
For our s'more series. Oh, also, we should say Gena Rowlands just died.
I was going to say, I just wanted to say a few words about her.
Yeah, she was 94, I think.
You know, she just is, she's the blueprint. Like, that's it. She's just the blueprint. She's what me and so many, you and everyone that loves her and adores her. Like, she's just like, that's what I look for in an actress. Like, if someone is like even kind of comparable to her, like, that is what I look for.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah,
I think to know Gena Rowlands on film is to love her. I don't know a single person who's like, nah. Exactly. So we lost a great one. Yeah, we actually did reach out to her team a few years ago. I think we were trying to get her on.
We were trying to get her on the show.
I don't remember for what, though, because we had done Woman Under the Influence.
I think we just wanted her on. We would do any of them.
Yeah, maybe. But we reached out to her with like a specific film. I think it was either opening night or it was Love Streams.
Interesting.
But yeah, they were said like, oh, she's retired from doing interviews and stuff. It's nice to even get a response from Gena Rowlands' team.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a titan. I mean, honestly, I shy away from using like really grandiose statements, but there is a case to be made that Gena Rowlands is the greatest screen actor that's ever lived.
Yeah. It feels right with her. Like everyone else, you're like, well, maybe there's a few others, but like with her, like I feel like everyone is so confident and they're just like, she's the GOAT. Like that's it.
Yeah. And
we all have this shared collective confidence in that for a reason.
Yeah. Well, she's fearless.
Yeah.
In a way that so few actors are. I mean, she's really, really, really will go there.
Yeah.
To the point where it probably did some damage to her mental health doing some of the roles that she did. Because I don't know how you could take on those roles and
go to that
and come out unscathed. Yeah.
Our first episode that we ever recorded, Greg, what was it?
Woman Under the Influence.
Yeah. It was just our trial episode.
It was our trial episode, which we've since posted on Patreon. So if you do want to hear that, go check it out.
I forgot we did that.
Yeah, we did it.
But yeah, I mean, going into what have you been watching? I mean, this happened yesterday, and so yesterday I wanted to watch a Gena Rowlands movie, and I watched Another Woman, the Woody Allen movie.
Oh my God, so good.
It's so good. It's essentially a Bergman movie, but with Gena Rowlands. And I'm like, great, cool. Like, what is there not to love? I thought it was amazing. But it was like, it was interesting seeing her in that role because she really is this kind of like emotionally closed off person, which I'm not used to seeing her like that in any other film. And so, I mean, she does it so well. She can do anything, but her hair is up the entire movie. Her hair is not down for like one scene. And she's like a woman that has trouble opening up and feeling and going through a midlife crisis. And it's just such a good movie. It's,
Yeah.
So I saw that, and then I saw The Four Adventures of Renette and Maribel, which is a Eric Romer film.
Oh.
Really, really good. And it's just like a great summer movie, and it's just, I don't know, like I had this string of like, I was trying to watch like boy movies, and then I just watched this, and I was like, I'm back, baby. Like, why did I ever leave? And by the way, the boy movies were All the President's Men, Heat, and Scent of a Woman.
Oh, yeah?
And then I watched that and I'm like, yes, just two girls talking to each other, finally. And it's just a very simple movie that just reminds us that a movie can just be about, like, it's just gently showing us how different these two girls are. That's the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's so nice.
That sounds great.
It's lovely. I highly recommend.
I need to see it.
What have you been watching?
I've seen a lot.
Well, we haven't seen each other.
I did see Twisters.
Oh.
You know what? I fucking hated it. I was in pain. Saw a movie called The Linguini Incident, which is a 1991 film with David Bowie in it and Rosanna Arquette. And it, I guess, kind of has never done much business and was kind of this like very niche cult movie. And the director just cobbled together like his director's cut version and released it. And I thought it was not much more than a curio. But David Bowie plays, it's like a rom-com role. So I was like, okay, cool. I saw Cure for the first time. Kurosawa's Cure. Not Akira Kurosawa, the other Kurosawa. And it was great. With what's his name from Perfect Days?
Oh.
Blanking on his name right now. But yeah, very good. Like, have you seen Memories of Murder, the Bong Joon-ho movie?
You know, I haven't.
Oh, you would like it.
I know.
Like,
it's been on my list for so long.
It's kind of 7-y, but I think even better than 7. I did rewatch I Saw the TV Glow.
Oh, you did? Nice.
So second time seeing it, and yeah, cemented it. It was absolutely one of my, I think right now, my favorite film of the year. It's between that and Perfect Days.
Cool.
I think both are just incredible. And then yeah, I went to the New Beverly. I feel like I should just stop here, but like rewatched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the New Beverly, did the El Coyote New Beverly combo with Scratch Margaritas.
Scratch Margaritas the best.
And they were also showing Temple of Doom at the New Bev, so I did that. So I've been going to the New Bev a lot. I'm kind of over it because it's so far for me.
It is far.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's really fun.
Yeah. Anyway. That's us. Should we get into this week's film?
Yeah.
From 1969, this is Ken Russell's Women in Love.
Women in Love was released in 1969. It was directed by Ken Russell, written by Larry Kramer, based on the novel by D.H. Lawrence. Cinematography by Billy Williams and music by George Delarue and Michael Garrett. In a mining town in England, the Bragwin sisters, Gudrun and Ursula, run off to see the wedding procession of Laura Kreitch, the daughter of a wealthy mine-owning family. There, they see Gerald Kreitch, the straight-arrowed and stern heir to the Kreitch mine, and his best friend, Rupert Birkin. Gudrun is a sculptor and teacher, and Ursula is also a schoolteacher. The sisters join Rupert and Gerald at a weekend getaway at the country manor of Hermione Rodis, Rupert's mistress. There, Hermione is angered when Rupert interrupts her ballet performance when he makes the piano player switch to ragtime music. Hermione crushes a paperweight on his head, and Rupert strips down and runs into the surrounding forest to wander. At a picnic at the Kreitsch estate, Gudrun and Ursula take a boat and row to a nearby island where they are free to sing and dance and even attract the attention of some cattle. Gerald finds them, terrified that the cattle might charge. He professes his love to Gudrun, while Rupert and Ursula have sex in the forest. As night falls, Laura and her husband drown in the lake. After the tragedy, Gudrun is hired to be an art teacher for the Kreitsch's youngest daughter. Gerald discusses his boredom, and Rupert suggests hitting something. The two wrestle, stark naked, and afterwards Rupert tells Gerald they should swear to love each other always. But Gerald insists on waiting until he understands what Rupert means better. Meanwhile, Ursula and Rupert get married. After his father's funeral, Gerald goes to Gudrun's house in the night and sneaks into her room, and the pair finally have sex. For Christmas, the two couples go to a chalet in the Alps. Gerald and Gudrun's relationship is starting to strain as she becomes impatient and he becomes jealous of the attention she pays to a German artist. Gerald attacks them one day, attempting to strangle Gudrun. He then wanders into the snow alone and freezes to death. As Rupert mourns his friend, he stands by his feeling that the relationship between male friends is just as important as eternal as the love between man and woman. The film stars Alan Bates as Rupert Birkin, Oliver Reed as Gerald Kreitsch, Glenda Jackson as Gudrun, and Jenny Linden as Ursula. The film was produced and written by Larry Kramer. Kramer was an American who moved to London and worked at United Artists as an assistant. So this is a nice little assistant story. Represent. He obtained the rights to D.H. Lawrence's book for only $1,400.
Oh my gosh.
He didn't like the draft of the script by the writer he hired, and he couldn't afford to hire another one, so he decided to write the script himself. It was the first one he ever wrote. Stanley Kubrick was approached to direct, as well as Jack Clayton, but finally they landed on Ken Russell. He had only made 2 features before and was known for his nonfiction work for BBC artist biographies for television. He read the novel and thought it was the best English novel ever written. Him and Kramer worked on the script and added some things from letters, poems, and other sources from D.H. Lawrence's life. Rupert Birkin is known to be the stand-in for Lawrence, like the character. And so Alan Bates grew a beard to look like him. His hair looks just like him. If you look up what D.H. Lawrence looked like, it's exactly Alan Bates in this movie. Michael Caine turned down the role of Gerald because he didn't think he could do the nude scene. Oliver Reed was not physically as Gerald is described in the book, but he was a big box office draw. Glenda Jackson was famous in the theater at the time, and she was cast after Russell saw her in a production of Marat Sade. Vanessa Redgrave and Faye Dunaway turned down the role of Ursula because they thought that she would just be overshadowed by Gudrun. Glenda Jackson was actually pregnant while shooting the film. Eventually, Jenny Linden was cast as Ursula, and don't you think she looks just like Debbie Reynolds?
Yeah, kind of.
Like, kind of? No, like when it started, I was like, what?
I mean, I never mistook her for her, but yeah,
I did.
I see the resemblance.
I did. It was shot in northern England and Switzerland. The famous nude wrestling scene was going to be omitted because Russell didn't think that it would get past the censors. But Oliver Reed convinced him by actually wrestling him in his kitchen one day and like making him say, as he had him in a chokehold, say like, okay, I'll do it.
Well, originally too, I only know because I watched the thing with Ken Russell, but Ken Russell changed it so they're wrestling in the ocean at night so that it would hide a lot of the nudity.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, Reed was a notorious alcoholic. He was really drunk when he did the scene. And there's a great series of videos by the cinematographer Billy Williams, who, he describes that scene. He describes a bunch of scenes. But in that scene, in the video, he says that Oliver Reed was drunk.
They're said both that he drunk. Kept...
So that's the thing. Online, it says that they're both drunk. But in the video, Billy Williams said that only Oliver Reed was drunk.
Oh.
And he kept saying, like, Alan Bates has a bigger dick than him. And, like, he kept, like, going off in the corner trying to make himself, like, look bigger.
Right, fluff himself up.
But, yeah, they had a piece of rubber, like, underneath the rug. So that was the only protection, and there was like no stunt doubles. There was a stunt man, like a stunt coordinator, telling them what to do, but they're throwing themselves down. And they only agreed to be nude for 1 day. So the second day was waist up. But then after watching a cut of the wrestling scene, after they had already gone to Switzerland, Ken Russell said like they needed more wrestling, but they were no longer in their original location. So like in a studio in London, they had to match it.
Wow.
And he shot like 72 frames per second. He's like, we need like a climax. And so that climax scene was shot a completely different month and location. And it's 72 frames per second.
Oh, wow.
I know. But it's cut like seamlessly.
Yeah.
The movie was released just 2 years after the 1967 Sexual Offences Act, which decriminalized homosexuality for men over 21 in England. The final cut of the film went through the censors untouched. However, there was some pre-censorship, like in the script phase, but the wrestling scene was untouched. And really, this was the first like mainstream male full frontal nudity in a movie. It did really well critically and box office wise. It was nominated for 11 BAFTAs, didn't win any. It had 4 Oscar nominations: director, actress, screenplay, cinematography. Glenda Jackson won for Best Actress. She would win one more Oscar, Touch of Glass, in 1974. She was nominated for 4 total. She won 2. She wasn't at the ceremony for like both times she won. She wasn't there. I don't know if she was there for the ones that she was nominated for, but she was just like, couldn't be bothered. And she's really cool. She would leave acting to become a member of parliament from 1992 to 2015.
Yeah.
Which I just think she's really badass. Ken Russell would adapt 2 more D.H. Lawrence novels, The Rainbow in 1989, which is actually a prequel to Women in Love. It's about the girls and their family, like 3 generations of their family. And a BBC television miniseries adaptation of Lady Chatterley's Lover, which is just called Lady Chatterley, and Sean Bean is in it. Oh. And Natasha Richardson's sister, whose name I cannot remember. Do you know who that is?
Jolie Richardson? Or something?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you seen that one? Because I know you read that book.
I haven't. I really want to, though. Now I really want to.
Yeah.
Because all I watched was that Netflix one, which was like, not that good.
Yeah, check out the Ken Russell one.
Yeah, I'm sure it's great, honestly.
Maybe.
But yeah, those are the specs.
Yeah. You have everything I was going to say.
Nothing else?
No. You even touched on The Rainbow, which I was going to touch on. Yeah.
Have you seen The Rainbow?
No.
You should see it.
I know. I should
see it.
Yeah. I actually don't know much about Ken Russell. Like, if he was able to sustain his career or if all of his classics are kind of earlier on, like in the 70s and 80s. I'm not really sure.
I don't know either. I just know that he was doing like BBC documentaries, and then he
with Oliver Reed, actually.
Yeah.
So they were like he would do a portrait of like a composer or something.
Yeah.
Like Oliver Reed would play him. So they kind of were linked together.
Yeah.
Early on.
Yeah.
Even that scar on his face on the left side. He got that in a bar fight.
I heard.
And
like 62 stitches or something.
Yeah.
Right?
And he was known for his drunken brawls and things. And like he asked Ken Russell if that was going to be a problem. And he was like, no, it's fine. Like but I think he was having trouble getting cast in other stuff at that time because of the scar.
Yeah.
I think his scar's
gnarly.
cool.
I mean, it's big though.
Yeah. It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Initial thoughts?
Well, it's okay. Wait, did you know that D.H. Lawrence fans are called Laurentians? And I guess the general consensus among Laurentians is that this is the best Lawrence adaptation.
Wow, that's great.
So I saw this. I was sick. You were sick too. I was a month ago, right? That's about when it was. And so I was going through all of the Criterions on my shelf and the discs I'd bought blindly and hadn't yet watched. It's just like, let's wipe some of these out. And lately, as you know, I've been on a huge Hammer horror kick. And that's where Oliver Reed got his start. And I've been aware of Oliver Reed I've seen his films before. I've seen The Brood and I'd seen Gladiator or whatever, but I never paid any attention to him. I'd seen Burnt Offerings. And been watching these Hammer movies, and when he's young, he's so like you can't take your eyes off of him.
Yeah.
So I was like deep in these Hammer movies, Curse of the Werewolf, Paranoiac. He's in Captain Clegg, and I'm like, I want to see a movie that I want to see him really do his thing because like Hammer's great, but it's genre and it's limited, and I wanted to see him in a great dramatic role. And I was like, oh, I have Women in Love, and popped it off and put the movie in, not knowing anything about it. Like you, all I knew about Lawrence was that Jack Nicholson quote from Easy Rider. That's all I knew. I was like, I don't know who he is.
That wasn't like me. I know who he is.
Well, no, you do. You've read book. No, just I guess the quote that you said earlier. But for years I was like, he's someone that
Jack Nicholson mentioned.
And I knew it was like some literary giant.
Yeah.
But so I watched this not knowing anything about it. I think I kind of knew about the wrestling scene because it's so famous. Also, I haven't seen much Ken Russell. He's a blind spot for me. And I don't know. I did not make that conscious decision. I just haven't seen much Ken Russell.
Well, we talked about it the other day with the Devils.
Yeah, and I still haven't seen the Devils. So I'm like waiting for the...
You're never going to get it. You
Russell
have to
cut.
watch it.
I know. So, I put this on, and the thing happened that so rarely happens as a movie watcher, where I've only felt this a few times in my life. I felt this when I watched Midnight Cowboy for the first time. It's a feeling like you never knew that you needed this movie so much in your life. But as you're watching it, everything about it just feels so right and correct. And it almost feels like it's a part of you. Like it's this extension that was cut off, and now you're rediscovering it.
Wow.
That's how it felt for me. So it was really revelatory, and I got really worked up about it. And then I went, like 2 days later, I showed it to Molly. I was like, oh, you gotta see this movie, because she likes period stuff and costume dramas or whatever. She wasn't really into it. We've since had a series of conversations about it. So this was my third time seeing this in a month. I think this has become, it's up there for me. It's high on my favorite movies list, which is weird to say about a movie you just saw a month ago for the first time. But I think this has everything I love about movies in one movie. And I think it feels like lightning in a bottle. I love the characters. I love the cast. I think everyone's perfectly cast in this.
Yeah.
And it's Russell's first big movie, and you sense this cinematic giant coming into his own. And it just is incredible. I love everything about this. I love the way it's put together and edited, almost in a Nicholas Rogue kind of way, because there's a lot of ground to cover, and the movie's like 2 hours and 10 minutes. So you kind of get it's more impressionistic, I think, where it's like Molly, her whole thing was when she saw it, like, oh, too much went by too quickly. I don't know who these people are. I don't know where they come from. I'm like, it's all there. It's just really condensed. But I kind of love movies like that. In a way, it also feels like Altman.
It does.
I just love it. I love everything about this movie. It really just speaks to me. I love the themes of it. There's a lot of depth here. It's really ahead of its time. The novel was written in 1915. I'm reading the book right now. I tried to finish it before this episode, but life. But the book, honestly, all I have to report is that the movie is a very faithful adaptation of the book.
That's great.
The book is truly just an expansion of everything that's in the film. So, yeah.
Well, that's what Larry Kramer said. He said most of everything he got was just from the book. Like,
I do know, too, I saw an interview with Ken Russell where he was like, I read the script, wasn't really interested. Then they told me to go read the book. So I read the book. And then, like you said, he was like, this is the greatest English novel ever written. And then Ken Russell was like, let's put more Lawrence into the screenplay.
Yeah. And that's why they went in. And
so it's like,
other stuff.
I think taste is subjective. And I know this is its own kind of classic, but I just think it's one of the most phenomenal movies I've ever seen.
That's awesome.
Yeah. How about you?
I loved it too. Maybe not as passionately. I think it should be called Men in Love.
Yeah, well, that's the
thing. We should talk about that. But that was my initial thought when it ended. I was like, that's Men in Love, not Women in Love.
Yeah.
But I think the movie is, it's not a bad thing. But I wonder about the perspectives, because I wanted to ask you, I wonder about the perspectives in the book. Because I feel like it's kind of almost like, well, we'll talk about it. But I feel like it starts off about the women and then like very quickly just like, bye.
Yeah,
which is fine.
You know these sisters from The Rainbow.
Yeah. I watched Ken Russell films this year. I just watched The Devils and The Boyfriend. And he's just he's a very singular visionary. This like violent, raw, loud, eccentric style is like it's working for me, and seeing it across different genres is just so great, because like The Devils is like body horror, and The Boyfriend is obviously a musical, and this is like one of those classic modernist period pieces, and it works in all of these genres. And I think that that's just like the true mark of a great director. It's like you can take your style and make it work for any genre, and that's great. His films are just like, they're so unforgettable, like for better or worse, whether you like them or not, they're just unforgettable. Undeniably unforgettable. Yeah, and even some things, like I'm not crazy about like the fade ins and fade outs of like certain scenes, like, or the moment where like Rupert and Ursula are in the field like twirling around where they're naked. I'm like, okay, that's a little silly. And like even the scene where Gerald like violently fucks what's her name? Gudrun?
Gudrun, yeah.
It's just a little like, it was just like a little too much.
Abrasive?
Like, but just too much. Like you can do that and be abrasive, but it's like in that moment I was like, okay, this is like a little too much. So like, but even if you don't like it, it's like unforgettable.
Yeah.
And I think that that's saying something. But the wrestling is amazing, and other moments, and I'll talk about the other like really audacious moments, and they're amazing. But yeah, I think it's beautifully written, and obviously we owe a lot of that to D.H. Lawrence, and you're so old, D.H. Lawrence, really. So yeah, I had a great time with this. I think it's detail oriented and character driven and lusciously beautiful, and this cast is incredible. Perfect cast. I just saw Alan Bates in An Unmarried Woman.
Yes.
And he's like the same thing, kind of like just this like sexy, free-spirited artist guy. And I really loved seeing him in this. And obviously Oliver Reed is so good. And yeah, everyone, they're all incredible. So that's how I feel. It's great. I loved it. What's not to love, really?
Yeah, it kind of feels like a feast. It's like, yeah, everything you would kind of want in a movie, for me, it's like there on display in
like
some way
what?
or another. Everything. Really, really rich characters. An interesting foursome, which you don't get in a lot of films. Sometimes it's like
usually just like a threesome.
Or two. It's like two great characters. This is like Midnight Cowboy or something. This is you get four.
Yeah.
Although
I think Ursula's a little flat.
Yes, agreed. Intentionally so, right?
Yeah.
I think she's the simplest minded of the four, and I think it goes to show she's the most content at the end, right? It's like
she's knitting by a fire.
Literally, yeah.
It's funny because I think The Rainbow, or at least Ken Russell's, it's called The Rainbow, right?
Yeah.
Ken Russell's adaptation is like mostly about Ursula. So it's like he almost paid her the dues that he didn't give her in this.
Well, I don't know the book. So far what I've read from the book doesn't really give her the dues either.
Maybe not, yeah. So maybe it's just like The Rainbow's her movie.
Well, and the sisters are so different because Gudrun is like this truly fiery artist.
Gudrun's sick.
You know,
she's so cool.
She's cool, but also, yeah, I feel like it gets to a
it.
point where you're like, okay, I'm kind of over you.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I thought she was great, but she is cruel.
Yeah,
like, she tortures him, even though
does.
he's already so tortured.
I know.
She loves it. But I want to talk about all of that.
Yeah.
But like, can we just talk about the fact that the beginning is like super deceptive? To me, the beginning was so deceptive.
Yes.
Because it starts with these sisters who are fun, and clearly they're kind of independent, you know? Like, and I love their conversation about marriage, and they say marriage is an experience, and
the music
possibly undesirable, but it's bound to be an experience. And then someone, and I forget who says it, I think it's Gudrun, and she's like, more likely the end of experience, and it's like a husband and wife with a baby in a car, and like the music comes, and and the titles come, and it's like, okay, it's like this fun, quirky, like modernist independent sisters, like that's what you think it is. And then they're on
Thoroughly
that tram.
Modern Millie.
I hate Thoroughly Modern.
Oh, do you?
Millie. It sucks.
I don't I saw it in school. I don't really remember
it.
Oh.
But they're on the tram and everyone's covered in coal, but they like look great and it's funny. Like that's funny to me. And then they go to this wedding and they're kind of like stalking them, and then the groom comes up and like kisses the bride, and it's so cute, and you're like, oh, like this is really nice. Like it's very deceptive. It's very deceptive. And then like the first time it turns, I think the first time, like the first indication that this is going to be a wild ride is really the fig conversation.
Yes.
because when that happened, I was like, okay, yeah, now we're getting into it. I was promised a lot of sex, and here it comes.
Yeah.
And it's just this like open comparison.
Well, even before then, the catkins, the flowers, the pollinating, and the sensuality of that. But yes, the fig conversation goes.
The fig conversation is really the one where I was like, okay, now we're in it.
Yeah.
And then it just goes from there. Like it just, then you have Rupert running naked in the forest, and you have the horse scene shortly after, and then you have everything that happens in this movie just follow right after. But I what I love about the movie is that it's unapologetically audacious. Like, it doesn't apologize. That's what unapologetic means. But what I mean by that is that it takes risks. Like, it does jump. It misdirects you. No one acknowledges, for example, that like the girls are way lower class than Gerald, and yet Gerald and Gudrun seem like they're in a relationship, and it doesn't even come up. It's never even an issue. And then we cut back and forth from the...
Well, it's kind of a secret thing too. Like, it's not super public because she's...
Right, but then he's talking like, oh, should we get married? And it doesn't even come up. That's my thing. It's like, with all these other period movies, like, that is such a big deal. And in this one, it's just like, no, that's not what this movie's about. And it doesn't apologize for that. Like, it doesn't even indicate that there's something that we're missing. Or when it cuts back and forth from the wedding to the time that Rupert's in her class, out of nowhere, it cuts. And then we cut back and it's like, whoa, what happened? And it's like, no, I'm not holding your hand.
Yeah.
And I love that. Or how they all end up at Hermione's. Like, how did they all end up there? When did they become friends? You know what I mean? We're just there.
And those are all shortcuts that the movie takes. Because in the book, clearly, like, Hermione sends the invitation. Of course,
which is what you need to do in a movie. But I just love how this movie does it without holding your hand at all. And it just like flows and works. And it's concentrated in that way.
Yeah, it's concentrated.
That's the thing. It's so concentrated. Even when she's like dancing and acting crazy on that island, and he comes and like he runs to her, like, he's not too shocked. Like, he's acting weird too. He's like, why are you screaming at the top of your lungs? So it's like, he's not too shocked. Or even when like he shows up in her bedroom, there's no big surprise. It's no like Mr. Pamuk moment from Downton Abbey.
Mr. Pamuk.
That's what I thought of. This man broke into your home and snuck into your bedroom, and you're not even reacting. Or like the wrestling, they're like, okay, we're gonna be nude, and it's like no questions asked, no indication that we're doing something crazy. I'm just gonna do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to express, but I appreciate how the movie does that. It doesn't pay attention to how weird it's being. It just does it. Like when he gets that head wound, there's no like, oh, I'm dizzy, whatever. No, I'm just going to strip and run through the forest. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to articulate, but it's like this... it's just this no fucks given. Like, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
I don't care if it seems weird or random. That's it.
It's instinctual and it's immediate.
Yeah. And like, they end up on that island, and Ursula's like, we've all gone mad. And like, Rupert's like, let's go madder. And he's just like dancing like a weirdo. But like, no one said, like, they have no reactions, which is great.
Yeah.
His mom sending out the dogs. That's fucking weird. Like, no one says anything.
Well, clearly she's lost it. She's been losing it for a long time.
But it doesn't pay attention. It
doesn't linger.
Exactly. Yeah. It just does it. It's just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this weird thing, and I'm not going to concentrate and I'm going to move on after.
Yeah. Because what do you need the aftermath for? It's like, we know, we can guess what the aftermath would be.
Exactly. But like, in the book, I'm sure it's described.
It is.
Like, how is it described in the book? That's
There's
the
more.
thing.
Yeah.
There's more. There's people being like, oh my God, like, what the fuck is going on? Like, that doesn't happen in the movie. And I think it all comes down to, it's just because like this movie's not Room with a View. Because Room with a View is like choosing a life outside of this Edwardian society and all these norms. Like, that's what Room with a View is. But this is like, no, like, people wanted to fuck back then. And it was the cusp of modernity, and they just went with it. Like, we're just going to do it. Like, so it's so interesting that it's like this period thing. And I thought, because it's about sexuality and it's because it's about all, that, I thought it was going to be almost like Room with a View, where it was like, oh, let's leave behind this very prim society, and this is what we're doing now. But like, we feel guilty, and it's like shame and stuff, because like, that's kind of what Lady Chatterley is too. But the fact that this was just like, nope, it's just about sex. No shame, no fucks given.
Yeah.
Like, and I love that.
Yeah.
But that was my very long-winded way of saying I love how audacious this movie is.
No, I love that. All great points, and I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Also, the film is set in the 20s because they almost have a flapper thing going on.
Yeah, but the book you said was written in 1915.
So I guess they just pushed it forward
That's
10 years.
Because I think they didn't want the war to get involved.
Which is understandable.
Yeah. But in the book, I'm saying, is it more like a Lady Chatterley thing where it's like there's all these societal norms and yet like sexuality is getting in the way and it's like
no,
it's not.
No.
Okay.
No, yeah, pretty much the attitude of the book is the same as the film.
But you know what I even like in Lady Chatterley? It's interesting because, I mean, it's about, what is she, like a countess? She's like whatever they are in Downton Abbey. Uh-huh. And she has an affair with the groundskeeper. And when she decides like, okay, I'm going to run away with him, like she just tells her husband. And he's not that angry. Like he's kind of pissed, but there's no big scene. There's no big theatrical thing. And I just love that so much.
Well, because they probably weren't married for love. It was like the family maybe kind of arranged it or something. No,
they were kind of married for love, and they were very happy. But then when he went to war, he becomes paralyzed, and so like they can't have sex.
Oh.
And like she basically is his like nurse.
Right.
But it's interesting. I feel like there's a connection between Ken Russell's just like need to just be as eccentric as possible, and also this kind of D.H. Lawrence thing of like not doing that room with the view thing. Not that the room with the view thing is bad. I love that.
No, sure. Absolutely.
But it's interesting.
No, I think their sensibilities are very well matched, Lawrence and Russell, for sure.
Yeah.
And not even you're more familiar with Russell than I am at this point, but it's like I can absolutely see, it's like a perfect marriage of filmmaker and author of material.
And apparently D.H. Lawrence hated the cinema.
Well, when did he die?
I think in the 30s.
Well, it still had a long way to go.
But let's talk about Gudrun and Gerald.
Yeah.
Because they are
Well, speaking of Gudrun, Glenda Jackson said in an interview she had the novel in her hand the entire shoot.
That's great.
Because she's talking about, obviously in a book, you get so much more of a character's inner feelings. And she was like, so I always have the book in my hand.
Yeah, it's like the best director possible. It's just that book.
Like, and then it's about externalizing the thoughts from the book. Like, how do I show this thought externally through my performance?
Yeah.
But yeah, Gudrun and Gerald honestly reminded me of Seinfeld when wait, who gets engaged first? George? Because Jerry's about to get engaged to Janine Garofalo, and then George is like, I'm gonna propose to Susan, and he does with the like they're both gonna get engaged.
I wasn't gonna get engaged unless you were. I'm not engaged anymore.
Yeah, and then Jerry does. Yeah, he breaks it off.
Jerry breaks it off with Janine because Susan died.
Yeah. No. Jerry breaks it off with Janine because he's just like, we're too similar. Like, she likes cereal and everything. And then George is stuck with Susan.
Again,
he's like,
cereal?
He's like, wait, we were going to get married.
Are you sure, Greg? Because I think Susan dies, and then in the hospital, George is like, Jerry's like, that means you're not engaged anymore. And George's like, I guess I'm not. And then Jerry was like, but I only got engaged because you got engaged. Oh,
yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I did get that mixed up.
Again, cereal.
But yeah, it's like that kind of thing where the only reason Gerald and Gudrun get together.
Wait, I'm sorry. I just remembered you're comparing them to this couple, and now I just can't comprehend why.
Well, because they're only together because Rupert and Ursula are together.
That's not true.
I don't know. It's
I don't
more
see
like
it like that. I think it's just the second she sees him on that horse, she's like, I'm down with a capital D.
Yeah. Like she's in it for
sex.
Yeah, she's 100%. Yeah. I'm not saying but yeah, then obviously it's a very shallow thing because ultimately he's not that interesting a person.
Right. And he's a dick, honestly.
But she's drawn to powerful, violent men. I mean, even the German guy, when they're in the Alps, talks about like beating his subject for the. Yeah. So she's drawn to this like violent.
Yes.
Yeah. Even though he's gay.
He's gay, yeah. I love when she goes to town. It's so true. Yeah, she wants like sexual experiences.
She wants to be taken.
She goes to town, and observes the people making out in the tunnel.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, did she wanted to hook up with someone that night? Like, and then that guy grabs her and he thinks she's a prostitute. It's just so, like, I loved seeing her do that. And I also loved...
Yeah, kind of leading that guy on.
When she is...
Drowning in his thighs.
When she's going, that was hilarious. when she is going home and Gerald is taking her, and then they end up in the same tunnel and they're making out, and she looks over and she sees the same, I think she's a prostitute, making out with another guy like that. That was like almost my favorite sight. Almost my favorite sight.
Wow.
But I absolutely love that. And she's such a good foil to him and like his like, but that's the thing, like he's outwardly uptight and he's just like, he's so frustrated and like doesn't know how to express himself or doesn't know how to feel really, and knows he's kind of an asshole. And
he's a really tragic backstory too. And in the book they get into it a little bit more. Oh yeah,
tell me.
Like in the book, I don't remember. I don't think this is in the movie, but he shot his brother when they were kids. They were like playing around with a gun.
No.
And didn't know it was loaded, and it went off and killed his younger brother or something.
That is crazy.
So that's added to his. And then obviously his dad's getting old. His mom has lost it. Like completely lost it.
Why didn't they tell us that in the movie?
I don't know. See, I remembered that they did in the movie, and then I rewatched it today, and I was like, oh no, they don't.
They didn't.
No.
He makes a lot of comments though of like, in this family, once something goes wrong.
Yes, I have that written down here.
It's really good.
Yeah. Once something goes wrong, it can never be put right.
Yeah.
That's bleak.
It is.
It's a sad family, really.
It is a very sad family. I mean, when Laura, the daughter, dies, like that's tragic.
I know.
And the dad is so casual about it. Like he gets out of the river and he's just like, go home, tend to yourself, I'll drain the river. It's like, your daughter probably is dead.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, it is really sad, but I love both of these characters and I love both of the actors. I just think it's like completely perfect. I love when he's like, I'm in love with you. And she goes, yes, well, that's one way of putting it. Yeah. Like, it's so good. It's just like, he's trying to do the right thing almost, but he doesn't really know how. I don't know if he really does love her in that moment. I think he does love her eventually.
Yeah.
And she just is like, she wants to explore. She wants to be free. She wants to be wild. And it's just like they're just such good characters.
I know.
I love them both.
That's one of the reasons that this movie is so great, because the characters are so rich and great and work well together in a really great way and bounce off each other. And
I love it's like when he comes to attack her and the German guy. I love the way that scene is set up because they like fall off a sled, right?
Yeah, they're laughing.
They're laughing, and then the German guy looks up and he's like, "Oh, you're here!" And he like extends the flask, and all you see is Gerald's hand grabbing the flask and throwing it down. We haven't seen him yet. Hilarious! I was dying laughing. I was really laughing.
Oh, see, there's something really sad about that.
That I was laughing?
No. Just that whole... I would suicide? Laugh, but it's... That last chapter of the movie is so relentlessly bleak.
And so different from the opening. Think about the opening.
Yeah, exactly.
It is so bleak, and it's like... She just drives him nuts.
Yeah.
Like I said before, like she does like to torture him, and she knows that he's this uptight, like society man, and like... And
she keeps prodding him.
Prodding him. She says stuff. She says like... said, I would give all your love for a little companionship and intelligence. Like, that's fucked up.
It's fucked up. No, she has that line too. She's like, love me more, but want me less.
Yeah, she said, try to love me a little more and want me less. So that's the thing. It's like, I feel like he's not smart enough for her.
He's
not smart enough for her.
And she's very bohemian.
So she wants someone to love her, though. Like, she wants someone to, like, know her that well to really love her. And she doesn't feel like he's that guy because they're just too different.
Yeah. The friendship with the German guy, too, I think is just a way to throw it all back in Gerald's face, too. I mean, I do think she finds him interesting. But also,
he's gay. I don't think they have a relationship.
No.
He's pretty openly gay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about that last scene. First of all, can I just say that I love that whole chalet experience?
Oh my God.
That when they're dancing in the bar, and like I could just like smell that room. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like with the fire going and everyone's wearing sweaters. I was like, it was probably really stuffy, but like good vibes, and like smells like beer and just like good times, and I just loved it.
Well, it's like the last 30 or 40 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And it's a great final kind of piece of the story.
It is.
To bring it back to Seinfeld too. That's the test of a relationship. You go on a trip the relationship is either going to fail or it's going to like be sustained.
It's true. And also true for friendships too.
Yeah. Going on a trip with someone is a big deal.
Definitely.
And look what happens.
I know. And it's interesting that Ursula and Rupert want to leave. Yeah. Why do they leave?
Ursula just, I don't know. Maybe she can I feel like neither of them really likes where, like, they're at the base of the Matterhorn in Switzerland. I feel like they're both just like, I mean, he like doesn't like it. And then she has some line about how the snow is like an endless nothing or something like that. So, and she wants to go other places. And so he's like, do you want to get out of here? It's like, yeah. I also think the vibe radiating off of Gerald and Gudrun
they
is
were okay
bad.
there still.
Yeah,
no,
but
they
there's a
just
bubbling.
met the artist, right?
Yeah, and there's a bubbling underneath. And I think Ursula saw too how quickly Gudrun and the German guy like got on. And she's like, that guy's a fucking weirdo with his boots on the table and like, his ash going into her whipped cream or whatever.
But great chalet. I'd love to spend a Christmas there.
Yeah. I love stuff like that too. Even like the staging of like, okay, you sit on the table with your boots while you're like taking them on, putting them up. But like, and then she's like, her food is right there and she's weirded out by it. Like, this is kind of gross. So it's just a nice little detail. And the movie's full of little things like that.
Gerald, when he like just sticks his hand in his dad's grave.
Oh,
like,
the mud.
The mud.
Yes.
Very, very
tactile.
Yeah. I mean, the fig's
fig.
crazy.
Yeah.
I love figs. They're so good.
And I love the fig scene is so great.
I know.
Because everyone around the table who's listening to the story, it's different. Most people are like, Jesus Christ, like you're going there. Okay. And they're like a little embarrassed. Like Gerald's embarrassed during the fig speech.
Yeah.
Like, but then Hermione's like eating it up. It's like, it's just a great kind of, it's perfect.
Hermione, man, that's crazy.
And she's is like reading the book. She is 100% straight from the pages of the book. Like she's actually even more ridiculous in the book.
It's just so unnatural to me to hear the name Hermione associated with a character like this. Like I'm just so like Hermione in my brain is just like, I can't hear the name Hermione without thinking of Emma Watson. Like that's just can't.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but I like Hermione and I like her house and I like the little
You
ballet.
like Hermione?
Yeah, why not?
She's insufferable.
Cool.
She's insufferable.
Maybe in the book.
I would blow my brains out.
I think she's cool.
If I was with her. She's not cool.
But she puts on like ballets.
Yeah, but it's really fucking pretentious and like, look at me. Like her friends are just having a good time. They're like, I have devised a ballet. And like, I'm going to hold you captive.
It's literally like when you're at a family event and you and your cousins like orchestrate a dance.
Except she's a grown-ass adult.
Mom and Dad, watch this.
And she has this very sing-songy voice. And like the way that she's like butthurt when Rupert doesn't want to go look at the gardens. And she's like, okay, little boy, like throw your fit or something. Yeah, she's insufferable. And then anytime she hits Rupert on the head with the fucking paperweight and he's bleeding.
Yeah, but
she's not cool. I truly hate her. In the beginning, she's like very beautiful and like statuesque.
Yeah,
and
she is.
I'm like, who is this person? And then once you get to know her, you're like, oh God. Like
I didn't think she was that bad.
Oh,
she invited the girls. Why did she invite the girls? That was really nice of them.
Because she likes showing off the house and she likes having company and I think she likes people under her. People under her that to look up at her. You know?
Maybe.
They're like, oh, these lowly teachers.
I still think she's cool.
No way, she's not cool. The way she licks, she spills, she's like...
And licks the champagne off his chest. I love that.
I don't know.
Let's talk about Rupert as this D.H. Lawrence stand-in. So D.H. Lawrence was bisexual.
Yeah.
And apparently the character of Ursula is also very much like his wife.
Oh.
And what strikes me about this character of Rupert is just the amount of times he professes his love. Like, it's not just once. It's not like this like one and done situation where you're like, oh, that was like, that could be interpreted a bunch of different ways. It's just like he has so many thoughts and so many feelings and he just expresses it. Like he does it while they're wrestling. And then he tells Ursula, like, I need more people around, you know? And then they have that great conversation, him and Gerald, where Gerald like turns him down. Definitely. It's the moment where they're like, the framing is great. They're standing in front of mirrors and it's the reverse shot thing. And like the way it's shot just really cements that like this is his final rejection.
Yeah.
Because he says, I know you believe in something like that, only I can't feel it, you see. Because he says it again. That's what I mean. Like, he keeps bringing it up. And then, of course, at the end, like, that is the last thing he talks about.
Yeah.
He says it while they're at the chalet. He's like, I love you. And they're like, but do you love him or do you love him? And it's just... he's just this great hippie, and I think he's very a great bohemian character.
He lives in that cozy little house, and in the book too, he has like an apartment he shares in London. So he'll go into London and he stays there for a while too, and he kind of lives different places.
Does he have like more open? How would you describe him? Like, is he like for sure
like
bisexual?
Openly bisexual?
Yeah,
I think he is, and like people around him don't really believe him.
Exactly, and that's why he keeps mentioning it. And
he's like, no, guys, I like a good dick. Yeah.
But I think Gerald, in that last time he brings it up, definitively says like, I'm not down.
Yeah, he does for sure. I love too the scene. Talk about the wrestling scene, to go back to it really quick. They're done wrestling. There's that great shot where they come together and they're all sweaty and they fall on top of each other, presumably having just climaxed. And there's that great thing of like, that's when Rupert brings it up for the first time of like, we should be eternal, like a woman. It's like, and then Gerald entertains it for a second and then is scared by it. He's like, I don't know what that means. And then you have this scene that's like been lit by a fire the whole time.
Very romantic.
And then Gerald gets up and turns the lights on. Immediately kills the mood.
I know.
And then Rupert feels silly because he's like laying on the floor naked, and now the lights are on, the overhead lights, and it's a very visual way of just like turning him down, shutting it down.
Veiled. Yeah, like gay love scene.
But he likes him. I feel like Gerald is into Rupert. He just can't. His brain can't allow himself to do that.
Yeah, I feel like his emotional range is just too shallow. Yeah, almost.
Exactly.
It's really sad.
It's really sad
because there are people like that, and it's so funny. Like it's so funny because just yesterday I watched Another Woman, and like she's kind of like that.
Yeah, right.
But great movie, great characters.
Yeah. There's also that great line when Gerald's father's dying and the mom is like, how's he doing? And Gerald's like, the doctor said he might not make it through the night.
Don't get hysterical.
Like, don't get hysterical. And then she also says to him, she's like, you like being affected, don't you? It's quite a treat for you.
And I can't tell if she's being like, she's fucking with him or like.
I think she's being serious.
Like he's showing too much emotion by saying.
Like he's trying to, or yeah, it's just, it's sad too that
it's just
she doesn't give a fuck at all.
I know.
Yeah, the family is bleak.
Yeah, it's bleak. And they have that little sister, poor thing.
I know. Oh my God. So after
gonna be fucked up.
Yeah, after the events of the story, it's just the crazy mom and that little sister.
Well, the thing is, I feel like they should have really mentioned that thing about killing his brother. I feel like that is very important.
I guess they don't in the movie, do they?
It's so important.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you get the sense that the family comes from tragedy already.
Do I? Because the first moment is like that beautiful wedding and the bride and groom are so in love.
Yeah, the first moment, of course. But then you find out about the mom, and then his relationship with his dad is kind of distant, and they're on like different pages when it comes to running the coal mining business.
Yeah, the dad wants to be nicer, and Gerald wants to be a dick.
Lets a guy go because he's a little too old. The guy's like, I still have a few good years left in me.
And then he's like, oh, and by the way, we're not going to give free coal to war widows anymore.
Yeah. I know.
He's so mean. Chatterley also takes place in a mining town, and their family, they own a mine. Like, that's their thing. So that's interesting.
Yeah. What do you think about the performances too? Because
incredible. I think I've made it very clear.
Glenda Jackson and Alan Bates are really, really great and natural. Ursula doesn't have as much to do. And then Oliver Reed, like the performance is almost hammy. It's almost hammy.
Yeah.
But I think that's the appeal of Oliver Reed. But he's going a little over the top compared to like the people around him. He does these things where he turns his head very quickly. He like looks up, to the sky before looking down at someone very quickly. He's kind of affected in a stage way.
Yeah.
But I really do think that it lends itself to
I think it works.
The role like very much.
Yeah, I think it works too.
He's so good in this.
He's really good.
He's the one he breaks your heart in this. It's really sad.
He does. I didn't see the ending coming.
No.
I did not know it was going to happen. Yeah, I think he's fantastic. And I think that you put it perfectly. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. But Glenda Jackson is so good.
Yeah, she's great.
Like, I even love this, like, in the beginning. What does she say? It's really hilarious. They're, like, watching the wedding, and she's, like, laying down on a gravestone, and she's like, nothing materializes.
Yeah.
It's so good.
She's really fun.
She's fun and, like, mysterious, ambiguous in a way that's, like, really great. Even in the horse scene. Like, the horse scene is happening, right?
Where Gerald's kicking the horse?
Yeah, and like trying to get it to go across a moving train. Like, what the heck is he doing, first of all? Again, no explanations, no reactions, like, after the fact. But in that moment, she's like telling Ursula, like, she's really turned on, right?
Yeah.
And she's telling Ursula, like, shut up. Like, you're talking too much. But then when he goes away, she says, I should think you're proud. She screams that to him. Mm-hmm. And it's like, did she mean that? Was she being sarcastic? Was she, I don't know. Like, it's this very interesting.
Yeah, she's kind of unknowable. Even by the end of the movie, you're like, I still don't have a great grasp on who she is. But it's also, she's like 26. She's still coming into her own of what she wants from life and who she is. So you kind of get the sense in this film that she's stumbling her way through and getting closer. And after this, yeah, she's going to go to Germany.
Yeah. And what does she say even it's a similar thing, like the horse scene and the scene where he, like, they're having sex and then he, like, violently, like, you know, the first time I saw this, I'm like, did he rape her? See, that's the thing. That's
like,
what I mean. This ambiguous thing, because she's saying, like, oh my God, Gerald, like, should I die? What does she say? She says something like that. Like, I should die. Something like that. And again, you're like, wait, is she turned on? Is she mad? Like, it's this thing, and she plays it so well. She's just incredible in this, I think.
Yeah.
And the fact that she was a member of parliament is
I know.
Just incredible.
Well, there's that great thing too. So much the sex scenes in this movie, because I was talking to Molly, and Molly's like, the movie's not sexy, and I'm like, it's not sexy, but because every sex scene I feel like is treated like a death in a way, or a birth, like a painful birth of a relationship.
Think about when the two of them happen.
Yes.
The two big ones.
The first time for each couple.
One of them is after the sister's missing, probably dead.
Yeah.
And then they do it. The second one is his dad's funeral. He sneaks into her house, Mr. Pamuk style.
He's all muddy. He slowly takes off his shoes. It's almost like really sad.
Do it exactly. So it's like the movie is about, like, desire, but it's also about just, like, the animalistic,
the primal.
Like, I need to let off steam now.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
Exactly.
So yeah, I don't know if I would say the movie's sexy. I think it's
I don't think it's sexy. Yeah, it's sexual.
Sexual, definitely.
And sensual.
Sexual and sensual.
Hermione has that line. She's like, do you not think me sensual?
Oh yeah, how could I not be sensual?
Oh yeah.
See, like, I felt her on that. Because I was like, girl, you are.
Yeah, but she's also insufferable.
I don't know. Enough Hermione bashing. But I thought that the sex scenes were hot.
Yeah, because there's a desperation to them.
Yeah.
It's like clinging clothes off, and this came before, speaking of Nicholas Roeg, this came before Don't Look Now.
With very similar.
Yeah, which is the movie known for kind of revolutionizing the sex scene, where it's like two kind of sad people having
really intimate and passionate and almost angry, like, sex. I thought it worked.
I did. Yeah, I did too. I love too. God, the whole fucking movie is so great, but it's so, it's like tangible in the way that even Luca Guadagnino in his best films has this tangible sexuality. It reminded me of that too. Like the fig speech could have been in Call Me by Your Name or something.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
But.
God. And I love how he actually went for it, because I was like, the second he mentioned the fig, I was like, okay, so this is like talking about whatever, like, and I know that it is, and then he just straight up said it, and I was like, oh, okay, so we're actually gonna openly say it.
Yeah, if you have the Criterion too, the disc.
I saw it. Yeah, well, I borrowed yours. It was great.
I love that. I love too. Just we were talking about tones recently on a recent episode, and this movie, like you said earlier, it starts as one thing, it finishes as something completely different, and in between you have all these different moods and tones and the celebration of the fair in their garden leads to the drowning. Yeah, the drowning of Laura Kreitch. And it's like these really joyous moments turn dark, and these dark moments sometimes something good rises out of them.
That picnic is so joyous.
Yeah.
I did not see that coming.
Yeah.
Also, I'm confused about, and this is again what I mean, where it's like the movie doesn't apologize and it doesn't spell things out for you, exactly how it happened. Because
I think they just got tired, and I think they'd been drinking maybe.
But it's weird because they're just swimming right there. And then like she just goes under. She goes under,
and then the husband goes to look for her and
just dies.
I think she pulls him down.
Yeah, because he says she killed him.
Yeah, because when they drain the lake, there's that haunting shot.
Oh.
Well, because it goes from Rupert and Ursula's naked bodies. They've just had sex for the first time. And then it cuts to the naked bodies of Laura and her husband dead at the muddy bottom of this lake. They're in a really haunting...
I don't know what you're talking about.
Of course.
But of course, minutes before that, you had the beautiful picnic where there's that gorgeous like zoom out from the boat. And you're just like, wow, look at this place.
Yeah.
And the cattle scene.
Yeah. Just like in real life, there's beauty and terror behind everything, you know, everything, anything can happen at any time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, like you really watching this film, not only is the story sprawling and take you in all these different directions, but the moods change and it's just
even like, beautiful. I think it's funny. The moments before he strangles her, I laugh.
Yeah.
Because that's hilarious the way that they reveal him.
Yeah. I know the movie's funny too. It is funny.
Yeah.
There's a lot of funny lines.
Yeah.
And a lot of two characters just like Hermione, you laugh at some of it because she's so ridiculous.
She's fun, yeah.
And even some stuff that Rupert says, you're like, okay.
Rupert, yeah.
But I love the idyllic little cottage he has. And I love that there's this stream and he's fishing in the stream and like Ursula's like hanging clothes.
Yeah, it's cute. I was going to say funny wise. At the dad's funeral when the mom drops the shovel.
Oh, it starts laughing.
Hilarious.
Oh, see, I thought that was disturbing. I thought that was upsetting.
Really?
Like she's lost it.
I thought it was funny because he laughs too.
Yeah,
standing next to her trying not to laugh.
Yeah, because you're at a funeral and you want to feel any emotion other than sadness. Because then later when he's having sex with Gudrun for the first time, he's flashing back to his mom laughing.
See, that was another thing where I was like, okay, that's a bit much.
Oh, you thought so?
I think so. Who thinks of their mom?
You know what? Yes, this movie is a tiny bit too much. And that's where I like things pitched, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the reasons I like it so much. It's all a little too much.
And sometimes the music is too much. I'm like, okay, we can.
I know. I don't know what about that appeals to me, but I do. Because Midnight Cowboy in moments too, you know, it's like maybe
similar,
a little much.
That kind of like quick, even the sex scenes in Midnight Cowboy.
Same year as this too.
Yeah, interesting. And then they would both go on to be in Sunday Bloody Sunday, right?
Yes.
Midnight Cowboy.
Well, Glenda Jackson's in it.
Glenda Jackson and also someone else.
From this?
Yeah. I think Alan Bates.
Oh, is he in it?
Maybe not. No, never mind.
It's Peter Finch or whatever.
Peter Finch,
Yeah, that's a great movie too.
I have to see it. I've never seen it.
That and Midnight Cowboy and this and like they all feel like they're cut from the same cloth. It's like these late 60s, early 70s kind of stories about queer love and like but also not, and people kind of grappling with where they exist in this world and having kind of crises and living on the fringes of society like in Midnight Cowboy. But great
movie.
Sight and Sound?
Yeah.
I wonder what your favorite sight is.
Okay, but it was almost the shot of Oliver Reed holding that giant bunny.
Oh, the first time I saw this, I'm like, how has this not been a GIF yet or a meme?
Amazing.
It's like that should be a thing.
It's amazing
because he looks so serious
and he's holding this giant rabbit. And I love rabbits and I love Oliver Reed and it was almost that, but it's got to be the match shot with the bodies and Ursula and Rupert because it's just so achingly sad.
Yeah.
And even the bodies, we get a closer shot of the bodies too. Like we see her face.
The dead bodies. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
What about you?
Same scene just before. I just love that this picnic, this fair is going on all day and it's now like twilight. It's like night has just fallen. And then you see all the lanterns kind of glowing, but there's also a lantern hanging on the boat. And I just love that image of like beautiful. That lantern on the boat and the dark water around them. And
it's beautiful.
Yeah. It's not fully dark yet.
Great pick.
How about sound?
Okay, so mine is when they go to Switzerland and Gudrun says this.
The minute I set foot on foreign soil, I am transported. I am a new creature stepping into life.
That reaction is literally me anytime I travel. Like, anytime I'm in a foreign country, I'm like, yes, I'm living. Like, I'm finally here.
Yeah.
And so I just really vibed with it.
Yeah, it's a great line.
That's my favorite line.
Honestly, this movie is
so
full.
natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's full. I mean, Lawrence was a poet.
Amazing.
And there's a lot of incredible lines in this movie and in the book. I had trouble. I couldn't even, because there's so many like brilliant speeches. You know, there's the Catkin speech, the Fig speech.
Yeah.
You have Birkin talking about love between men and being eternal.
It's so good, yeah.
But ultimately, I'm going to go with something a little more trivial, but because it's delightful. And it's when the sisters arrive at the picnic. Everything's picnic, I guess, for me.
Yeah, the picnic was really important to you.
And Gerald, they're asking about going out on the lake.
Yes.
And the last boat has just left.
And Gerald's like, I have another one.
Yeah, and Gerald says this.
Do you handle a boat pretty well?
Pretty well.
Yes. We both row like water spiders.
Then there's a small light canoe of mine I didn't bring out for fear somebody would drown themselves. Do you think you'll be safe in that? You see, I'm responsible for this water.
I had a canoe at Arundel. I can assure you I'm perfectly safe.
Then I shall see to it that you're given a tea basket. And you can have a picnic all to yourselves. Well, that is the idea, isn't it?
How fearfully good. How frightfully nice of you.
Like, he doesn't have to be that sexy while saying, I see to it that you get a tea basket. Like, that's crazy.
There's something about the intonation in Oliver Reed's voice.
Hilarious.
Like, no one
it's
has.
Funny.
It's
that's
unique.
The thing.
Yeah,
like,
it is funny.
And when he's trying to be funny, it is funny. Like, that is funny to me. It's like, oh my God. Like,
a tea
of course
basket.
he is. Yeah, yeah.
I'm the owner of this lake. And he also has that line. Yeah, someone could drown, right?
Yeah.
It happens a few minutes
to
later.
His sister.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Great movie. Do you like the editing style? Like, because it does have that kind of late 60s, almost new wave thing going on.
Yeah.
This is like, I think one of the reasons Molly did not connect with it is it's too erratically put together. But that's the reason I was drawn in so much.
I like it. I think it works.
Yeah.
I like it. Again, they had to fit so much in, and so they went with it, and it works. Like,
yeah.
I think it works.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, that's what I like about it, is that it moves on. Like, it will do that. It won't explain. It won't linger. It'll move on. So
you're able to cover so much more ground that way. And you get, like, actually, there's a scene I haven't even mentioned yet that I really love, which is when Glenda Jackson comes home kind of for the first time. And she's like in those back alleys somewhere in London. And those two dirty guys who are washing up, like, mistake her for a prostitute.
They're not in London. They're in a small town.
Oh, right. Of course. Of course.
You thought it was the Mary Poppins chimney sweep?
Yeah.
Kick your knees up, step in time.
But yeah, there's just a lot of there's moments like that I feel like if it was more traditionally put together, you would have lost those moments.
Yeah.
And so it does become more impressionistic.
Definitely.
And it's alarming how many of my favorite movies look and feel this way.
Yes.
And I am, a huge Nicholas Roeg
It's great.
fan. All
They're
of his
great.
movies are that way.
I love it. When did Valley of the Dolls come out?
2 years before this. Isn't that wild?
Compare that to this.
Oh my God.
And what's funny is that, I mean, this was shot in like 68. So technically only 1 year.
Well, Valley Dolls
It was
probably shot in 66.
But it's just funny. Like, compare the two.
Yeah, night and day. Talk about an old-fashioned movie.
Old-fashioned. That's the thing.
And then this is like cutting edge. I mean,
so cutting edge. Like, it feels like one of the, like, it feels like a Merchant Ivory movie. Like, not in the, like, jagged kind of cutting, but just in the way that people are acting in it and acting towards each other. Feels like a Merchant Ivory movie almost. That's
the way I sold it to Molly when I was like, do you want to watch this movie? And I said, and this is oversimplifying, but I was like, it's Merchant Ivory with an edge. That's
yeah.
And that is like maybe doing a disservice, but I feel like it kind of is. And I love Merchant Ivory.
Great.
We still need to do one of their movies for the show.
Yeah. Pauline Kael?
Pauline, strap in.
Oh my God, really?
Okay. Pauline Kael said, Ken Russell's movie could perhaps be described as a gothic sex fantasy on themes from D.H. Lawrence's novel. Visually and emotionally, it's extravagant and, from time to time, impressive. Because Lawrence was one of the most purple of all great writers, perhaps the most, though rivaled by Conrad, Russell's style might deceive one into imagining that he is providing an equivalent to Lawrence's prose. But though Lawrence's passionate imprecision is what's bad in his writing, one can pass right through it in his Women in Love, because he was reaching for clarity. He might make a fool of himself groping around his character's psychosexual insides like a messianic explorer, but he was opening up new terrain. Russell, on the other hand, heads right for the purple, and his overheated virtuoso tableaux are piled on for our admiration, not for our understanding. The movie is a highly colored swirl of emotional impressions, bursting with intensity that isn't really grounded in anything. Probably to see this particular movie before reading the book is desecration. The novel is a staggering accomplishment, the sort of book that leaves one dumbfounded at how far its author got. And since there are few English novels of this stature, it's mad to jeopardize one's vision of it by regarding it in terms of the actors and images of the film. The movie is rather like Lawrence's accounts of bad sex.
What?
So kind of confused. She does say from time to time impressive. She says visually and emotionally it's extravagant and from time to time impressive. That's also a little dismissive. So yeah, she didn't love this, but it sounds like she loves the book. And she's like, don't watch this book.
Well, what I did.
What I did too. Well, you know, it's funny. Literally while reading the book, it's 100% it. I just see the actors, but the cast is so great.
Who cares? That's why I want that. I want someone to tell me who to imagine.
Yeah.
In fact, when I'm reading a book, no, it's true. When reading a book, I usually go with the actor that is in it. Like, I picture actors.
Yeah.
Do you do that when you read books?
If it's based on if it's not based on anything.
Even when I'm reading a random book, I think of an actor. I match an actor to the face.
That's good though. That's the way a director's supposed to think.
Is it?
Yeah.
Or is it just someone who's like sick in the head that's like
No, that's how you're supposed to think. You're great.
Thanks.
So if you're reading a book, you're like, what actor would be right for the role?
Always though. That's not right though. I shouldn't do that.
It's fine.
Yeah.
To be a filmmaker is not to be 100% sane and functioning properly.
Oh, thanks.
That's all of us.
You're right.
So that's Pauline. I guess, I don't know, a little more dismissive than I thought. Kind of disappointing, to be honest. I thought she would really love this.
Yeah.
Letterboxd.
Whatever.
Okay, let's see. I have a 4-star review that says Oliver Reed is built like a damn refrigerator.
I have that one too. I love it. He is though. He so is.
Stocky.
Oh, so stocky. 5 stars. Oliver Reed stroking a rabbit is my type of cinema. I love that scene. I love that shot.
It's great.
It's so good.
I only pulled silly ones too, mostly.
Because there's so many.
Yeah, there's so many because there's so much to latch onto. 4 stars. Oliver Reed is one of the most beautifully masculine men I've ever laid eyes on, and I want us to have rough sex.
4 stars. A fascinating exploration of the definition of love of all types for different people. What is love? What is healthy? And what is toxic? What is real? And what is fake? It's true.
Yeah.
So, like, Rupert and Ursula do love each other. Like, he does love her.
Yeah.
Did he always, though?
I think he falls in love with her over the course of the film, but it's not when he says it. But he does. Mm-hmm. He's a romantic.
So romantic.
3 stars. Called Women in Love. 2 men have sex. Oddly restrained for a Russell movie. Restrained? It's not what I think of when I think this movie.
No. 4.5 stars. Romantic relationships are hell, but I could live in one of Oliver Reed's armpits. We didn't read any bad ones.
What's coming up? 3 stars. It certainly wrestles with a lot of ideas.
That's good.
Yeah, how about that scene when Oliver Reed is just like sucking on Glenda Jackson's tits? Like back in the, well, I guess you can still do that now, I guess, yeah. But every time I see that in a movie, I'm like, man, just that day on set, like okay, today.
And they're so into it. That scene, that first sex scene that they have is like, It's really passionate.
Yeah.
Like they're mad. They're like angry and like he's angry and he's like hurt. It looks like he's in pain.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it just looks like he's in pain.
He looks tortured, yeah. Actually, every sex scene with Oliver Reed in this movie, he's tortured.
He just is tortured.
Yeah.
Well, I have one that's interesting because it's 4 stars. I'm not going to read all of it, but it's the first line is Greta Gerwig's Little Women reminded me of this. And
What?
I can't tell if they're trying to be funny or not because the rest of the review is a very serious review.
No, I don't think so. I think they've only seen a couple period movies. That's what it sounds like.
Can you imagine?
No.
Greta Gerwig's Little Women. What? In what way?
No.
I
Not at all.
letterboxed.
1 star. I watched about half of this. Too bizarre to continue. And I really don't get how Glenda Jackson got a Best Actress Oscar for this. 1 star for that boundary-pushing naked wrestling scene. Young Oliver Reed, woof. Which is steamy. Which is steamy, but also campy as fuck. This really is a camp movie. The poster alone looks like a confused bisexual porno.
They're not wrong.
Women in love, more like men in love.
It
Yeah,
is.
that's the
It
point.
is. It is. That is hilarious. I think it's called Women in Love because it's very much like most women, maybe at that time, let's say, when this happened to them, they were like, I'm in love. That's it. Like
Yeah.
a man wants me and he quote loves me that much. Probably just sexual. I'm in love. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And so I think that is the play on the title for sure.
Well, they're making this concerned effort too to like kind of go find guys.
Yes. It's so funny. Yeah. When they go to really that wedding scene is hilarious at the start because it just looks like
They're like outside the church. They don't even go into the wedding,
They're
but
not
they get
invited.
mixed up in the circle. And
yeah.
I think
And they're like
knew,
on the
yeah.
prowl. It's like Pride and Prejudice almost. But yeah.
Well,
that was really fun.
This
I'm
was
so
Women in
glad
Love.
you watched this movie a month ago.
I know, me
When
too.
we did this.
I'm glad that you suggested it. Yeah, I loved that. I really love this. It's a new
great.
favorite. It's a new favorite. Every moment of this movie is just you're 110% involved, and it's just one of those rare movies that really does suck you in completely. The outside world doesn't exist when this movie's on. That's a magic trick.
Yeah.
What's next week? Next week, s'mores. And we're doing, because we did Valley of the Dolls last month, and we asked you guys if you wanted us to do Beyond the Valley of the Dolls as a follow-up, and we received an overwhelming number of messages that yes, that was the direction we should go in. So we are going to do Beyond Russ Meyer's Beyond the Valley of the
Which
Dolls.
honestly I feel like is a more talked about movie than the actual Valley of the
Yeah,
Dolls.
yeah, exactly.
So I'm excited.
I think this one is even more deserving of the s'mores moniker than the first.
Well, the first one is
movie.
unintentionally camp.
It's
and this
true.
one is intentionally camp.
Well, it's intentional. It's an exploitation movie too.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Written by Roger Ebert.
Yeah, crazy.
If you're not at Camp Seen and Heard with us around s'mores, around the campfire every week, check us out on Patreon. We have the link in the show notes. And yeah, come back next week for our episode on Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. And then, like I said, after that, we are going to take about a 2-month break, something like that. We will return. But yeah, if this is the last episode you're listening to, have a great next couple months. And keep a watch out for us. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok. We're on TikTok now. And we'll obviously be communicating on there and let you guys know when we're coming back.
Yeah.
So until
We'll miss
you, but you should come back next week. Until then, I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Special thanks to the patrons at our highest tier, John Pennington and Cynthia Fordwell. Seen and Heard is an official podcast of the Arroyo Film Club. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to drop us a line, you can find us on email at hello@seenandheardpod.com or on Instagram @seenandheardpod.